putting fundamentals when I turned pro. When I got out of college and started playing on the mini tours, I realized that I was never going to hit the ball 300 yards, and I was going to have to become a much better putter, especially inside 10 feet, not just a streaky putter. So what I did was, whereas in college I had a very narrow stance, kind of a Crenshaw style of putting, narrow, feet open and hands ahead with the forward press, and I let the putter swing. And that really allowed me to have good speed control, but I wasn't consistent enough getting the ball to roll on line and roll true on those short putts. So, because putting to me, a lot of people, and just like in the full swing, everybody's concerned with hitting it straight. Full swing, people want to hit it farther, but a lot of people come and they're concerned with hitting it straight, and in putting you think, okay, I've got to get the ball to roll on line. But the best way to do that is to hit your putt solid. The best ball strikers, they hit their iron solid, and the ball goes through the wind. It's much less affected by the wind because they get that solid strike on the ball. It's the same thing with putting. If you can get a solid hit on the ball, it's going to roll through all those imperfections, and it's going to stay on line and have a much better chance of going in the hole. So first I'm going to talk about the basic setup and the concept of how the putter travels on an arc. There's a big debate out there. There are guys who've had success with David Pell's, getting the putter head to travel straight back and straight through on the target line. That seems like the simplest way to do it, to have that putter head stay on the target line back and through. And now in the last 10, 15 years, a lot of guys have discovered that having the putter head travel on an arc, or what I like to say more accurately is on plane, is more accurate. Let me explain what I mean by that. To have the most efficient putting motion, the simplest, most efficient, repeatable putting motion, the putter head should travel along the plane of the shaft that you set up on. So if I could set up with the shaft completely vertical, okay, and then I just let it swing, okay, the putter head can go straight back and straight through, and it can stay on that shaft plane. So it's right on plane, and it's completely vertical the whole time. So the rules of golf actually state that now, first of all, this is vertical, so we're going to call that 90 degrees, okay? This would be 0. So the rules of golf state that a golf club has to have at least an 80-degree lie angle, which would mean it's 10 degrees down from vertical, okay? So you can't have it vertical. The actual club can't be made that way. That's illegal. Now, some guys have gotten close with the long putter, gotten close to vertical, okay, so that they can go straight back and straight through. But as we all know, the anchoring, that's going out of play here pretty soon. So if the club is going to be on an inclined plane, and the average putter has about 70 degrees in the lie angle, so 20 degrees down from vertical, okay? So the most efficient way for this putter head to travel back and through is along that plane. So along that plane means as it goes back, it's going to come up off the ground, and it's going to come in, and then back this way. It's going to travel on that arc, but really it's on plane. So I want to talk about the setup, how you can get set up to make this simple, repeatable motion. So one thing I like to show people is, and we'll get into more of the details of the setup, but this is just a basic concept. If I hold this basketball here with my palms facing each other in a good posture, and I just let the shoulders swing, okay, we'll notice that this line here in the middle is going to point to the right, and it's going to point to the left. So it appears as if there's some opening and closing, okay? So let me get you set up here step by step. So these are fundamentals that I think, again, it's the most efficient way to stroke the putter. If you don't want to adopt this style, you can stick with your style. We're going to talk about reading greens, and we're going to talk about the concentration and how you can get better touch after I talk about the fundamentals. So this is really more, if you've heard of Stan Utley, he's a great short game teacher out in Arizona. This is really the method that he used himself, and he's really taught a lot of tour players to use, and he's had a lot of success with a lot of guys. And I think Brad Faxon's probably the first guy that was studied because he was such a great putter, and he was working with Jim McLean, and he realized that this is what was happening with his putter, and the reason that he could putt well consistently. So, part of the point of that basketball is to have the palms facing each other, okay? So right here, if I just have my palms face each other, this is a conventional putter grip. Okay, reverse overlap is what I like to use. That's conventional. I take the index finger of my left hand, it goes across the last two fingers of my right hand and falls in between the middle finger and the index finger. And the key is that the palms are facing each other. A lot of people try to get closer to a regular full swing grip and try to get this heel pad of the top hand on top. And as you try to get the heel pad on top, you'll see the lead shoulder gets higher. And that's how I used to putt with my open stance, was this way. Okay, that makes it very hard to have this simple, because basically what we have here is a structure we want to create that is very more uniform and simple to just swing back and forth, and we don't have to change it. So if I have my palms just face each other, okay, I don't try to get that heel pad up on top. Okay, now I can relax the shoulder down, get them more level, okay? As far as the posture goes, I mean, it's pretty simple. Feet shoulder width, slight knee bend, and I bend from the waist. Really an athletic posture. Not that you have to create any power, do anything athletic here. Nothing's going to move, but you want to get in that posture where you can let those arms swing freely. A lot of people tend to stand, I think, a little too tall, okay, so the body can get in the way a little bit. We don't have room to just let these arms swing back and through. So after I get my grip and I feel like my shoulders are level, and I can allow my elbows to be in closer to my side. You know, some people tend to get out of the way, and that leads to, I think that's more in line with a straight back, straight through motion. Okay, so the point here is the putter head is on one end of this structure that I've created. So the structure, to me, the hinge of it is if you feel the back of your neck and you go down the cervical spine where it meets the top of the thoracic spine, there's a big vertebrae there. I think of that as the hinge around which everything rotates. Out from that goes to the shoulders, two arms, and the putter out to the putter head. I just want that structure to go back and through around that hinge. For me to have the putter head go straight back and straight through, I actually have to straighten my arms, or I have to rock the shoulders, and I have to move that hinge. So even though, like I said, at first thought, you think it's simpler, straight back and straight through, it's actually a more complicated, less efficient motion, and it's harder to repeat. It's harder to get those solid putts consistently. So, you know, that's the grip, that's the basic posture. Again, shoulders level, and we're trying to just get that putter to swing along the original plane. So this is something from Eyeline Golf. It's just a simple putting rail that you can use to practice with. They've actually improved it. They have a kind of a non-slide surface on the bottom, so it shouldn't move around at all. You don't have to put the tees in. This is 70 degrees, standard putter lie. Go ahead.
Is it a larger grip or a smaller grip?
Yeah, this is slightly larger than the conventional grip you'll see on most putters right off the rack. I actually have small hands. I wear a men's small glove, so I do like a little bit of the feeling of having my hands filled up a little bit. The jumbo grips have become really popular, and I think a lot of that goes back to what I was saying about it allows guys to relax the lead shoulder and not feel like they have to get this heel pad up on top. If you think about it, if I try to grip this shaft because it's so thin, if I try to get my heel pad on top, I have to go like this. So I think, you know, getting that thicker grip is really about getting the shoulders level so that you can have this simple putting swinging motion, because it really is a mini swing. So this is 70 degrees. I wish they would make it adjustable to have a 70 and a 64. So, but at least it gets you the idea of kind of getting this motion grooved, of having that putter head travel back and through on the arc. So I'll just take some practice strokes back and through. Okay, so you may be able to see somewhere in the center that, you know, as the putter head comes back and up, it comes in and then it goes back in, so it's traveling on an arc. And the way I see it, the radius between this point here, this where the thoracic and the cervical spine meet, and the putter head, that radius is maintained. So it's the simplest thing that you can really do. It sounds complicated, but it's a simple motion. I mean, are any questions on that? After this, I'm not going to talk technically. I'll just talk about more reading greens and touch and concentration, because you could be a good putter with all kinds of methods. But any more questions on those fundamentals? All right, so obviously we know that people have been great putters.